You're listening to Your Brain on Air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Stai ascoltando il tuo cervello in onda. Il programma inizierà a breve. Buon divertimento.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and I know that everybody wants to love on Thomas Massie. I get it. Everybody wants to go like, oh yeah, he's saving us from Epstein. He wants to get the truth out with Ro Khanna. Let's not forget, guys, Thomas Massie is listed as a senior member of the Order of Demole. If you don't know about this, a Crimson Shield chapter in Vanceburg, Kentucky, per a 2018 Demole post. The Order of Demole, founded in 1919 in Kansas City by Frank Land, is a Masonic youth group for boys aged 12 to 21. It focuses on leadership, civic duty, and virtues like fidelity, but its secretive rituals and whatnot, occult ties, have sparked controversy. Some have alleged ties to abuse scandals and grooming for Freemasonry. Famous members include Bill Clinton and Walt Disney. I mean, that's just like a strange factual coincidence you can look up for yourself. Why he decided to join this order and refuses to answer questions around it, I'll never understand. But all I know is that there's no real perfect good guy, at least until we get some answers around it. Only Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was the true good guy, ladies and gentlemen. We saw how that went for that sweet Angelito. He got his wings this week. God called his baby home after his perfect son was done saving the nation of Iran. Now the country itself is being Afghaned up, you know what I mean? I was in the mood for another Maduro thing. I wasn't in the mood for a campaign of going in and blowing shit up and killing everybody, but we gotta topple when we gotta topple. And it's fun to make believe governments in third world, let's be honest, fourth world countries. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful Tuesday. I hope you're all having a wonderful go at it. We have so much to talk about because... Actually, I think I'm gonna have to break it up into two sections because there's so much information. We got 2 4-hour drops from Hillary and Bill Clinton last night via their depositions that they gave on February 26th and February 27th, respectively. Now, I call me a sexist. I was so much more interested in what Hillary had to say because I am not only a fan of her campaign-wise. I was a kid. I loved her when I was like I had this image of her where I was like, oh, 2016. I'm going to middle school. Shit's exciting. Progressive youth. I just went through the Obama years. Shit's going cool. She was a figure. You know what I mean? If you didn't really know very much and you weren't on the internet too terrible lot. If you didn't focus too much on how she was absolutely trounced by Barack Obama back during the 2008 campaigns and whatnot. I was literally 5 when that happened, so I didn't know too terrible much about that until I started to learn a little bit more around her background and whatnot. And quite frankly, she became a shadier figure as the Clintons become as you just get older. That's just a fact of life. The Clintons become shady figures as you get older. So, in the Bill Clinton years, I wasn't alive for them. I largely didn't get to see the effects of them. I was a Bush baby, like I said. Not Bush Sr. either. I was a Bush Jr. baby. And, like, Bill Clinton, I'm sorry, he's always been a medium tier, just figure in my life, quite frankly. He wasn't big in the public sphere very much when I was growing up. So, Hillary Clinton was, and as a result, I sat myself down and I listened to the majority of her deposition because she just interests me more as a figure, as a person. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to cover some of the highlights from this testimony, and I promise you, to not be sexist, we will cover Bill tomorrow. We'll cover some of his testimony because I did listen to some of it. I listened to bits and pieces. So, some where he confirms photos of him in a hot tub. It's messy. Whatever. I will finish his testimony next episode, but we're going to start just bits and pieces of it because Hillary is going to be the main star of this first episode's first story. Let's begin. Go. Hillary testimony highlights from the explosive interaction to, interactions, quite frankly. She could not hold her temper in whatsoever. To Pizzagate questions. I was clapping at the screen when I heard the Pizzagate questions. I was like, fuck yes, someone is questioning her about it. And I gotta admit, this brown girl that both of the Clintons had sat next to her, I think she's their lawyer. I'm positive she's their lawyer. She was on it. Like, forget this old fucking, geezer accuser that's sitting to their left. The most of the time, it's this old white guy who's got this side part. This black girl, she is on it. She's got a short haircut. She is in like this nice like cut blouse, like pantsuit looking thing. She just looks like she is in the future. You know what I mean? And of course, Hillary showed up in this all blue, creepy. I don't like it, quite frankly. She's trying to blend in with the background, and it's really just making her stand out even more. Folks, Bill's testimony, we're going to cover it more so later, but it was low cortisol, shaky hour. Michael J. Fox could have sit still better. Honestly, let's cover former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She wrapped up her marathon deposition before a House Oversight Committee, part of their ongoing probe into Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and connections. The session, held on February 26 in Chappaqua, New York, lasted over 6 hours and featured some tense moments straight from the start. Clinton repeatedly denied any personal knowledge of Epstein, emphasizing she never met him, visited his properties, or had any involvement in his activities. She described the questioning as highly repetitive, with lawmakers circling back to the same points about her and her husband's ties to the disgraced financier. But things got really heated when a photo of Clinton inside the closed-door hearing was leaked on social media, prompting her team to call a violation of the agreed-upon rules and leading to a brief suspension of the testimony. Actually, let's go ahead and play this clip for you right here. I cannot remember who exactly who posted this. I'm pretty sure that I can get the name for it.
All right. Excuse me, can I interrupt?
There are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying.
Oh, she looks mad.
Can you please advise me as to whether or not that's permissible and consistent with the rules, particularly given that we have asked for a public hearing? If there are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying, can you please explain how that
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home.
From now until the cows come home. This is a phrase you're never going to hear anymore, by the way, after your grandparents die. After this last generation, the people born like 47 to 60, you know, after that generation dies, you're not going to hear from now till the cows come home ever again. It's an old person phrase. Anyways, continue.
Secretary, she is testifying. Can you please explain how
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come.
Mom is mad. I am done. I haven't heard a female this upset ever since it's like, mom's upset, she's turning the car around. It is like, I am done.
Come home. This is just typical behavior.
You will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's
So I would
sake.
like to understand how that permissible.
This is mom is angry. This woman in the background goes, it was me. I posted it. I wanted it was an Instagram moment. And she goes, oh, for heavens. She slams on the table and then she admonishes her and she points and she's like, blah, 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 blah.
Before the hearing was...
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah, well,
I would like to take a break at this moment.
yeah,
I'd like to have
I'm done. For now.
I'm done for now.
Go off the record. Go off the record.
Whoo! Go off the record. Go off the record. I love that. And then the camera cuts for a second. Very fun. Very, very, very fun. An explosive interaction didn't stop there. Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert reportedly pressed Clinton on whether emails pertaining to Pizzagate, Epstein's files referring to it, that infamous 2016 conspiracy theory, claiming Democrats ran a child sex trafficking ring out of a Washington D.C. pizza parlor. Clinton pushed back hard. Listen, this may or may not have been my favorite moment of the entire deposition. She is so dramatically uncomfortable with these questions, it cannot help but make any person, even the most sane person, go, you seem weirdly uncomfortable with this line of questions. Not so, listen. When you're being accused of running a child sex operation, I understand being offended. I understand maybe not liking the line of questioning. But if you genuinely have nothing to hide, there's no reason to get angry. There's no reason to get upset with yourself, because inadvertently, and this is just common sense thinking, if you are just giving people a reaction when they're just asking questions in relation to things that were allegedly found on Anthony Weiner's laptop, this is true, this is factual information, you can go out there and find it for yourself. Whether or not these clips exist and whatnot is exactly it's not provable whether or not they do, not provable whether or not they don't. So they're asking you legitimate questions, and she gets angry. That is curious. Let's play this clip right here. Bang, bang.
Have you reviewed any 2025, 2026 Epstein files that were released that you believe reference or relate to those specific 2016 claims regarding the Podesta emails, Comet Ping Pong Pizza used as code possibly?
I'm sorry, does
You're
this
asking her about whether
She's shaking her head, and then both of her lawyers immediately go into, you're asking her for her opinion. It's a hearsay. Let her answer.
emails
In the Epstein files.
was related to the wacky Pizzagate.
And this is how they always do it. They say wacky, they say it's goofy, they say it's a conspiracy theory. Was Anthony Weiner's laptop a real thing? Yes or no? Have people answer that question, and it'll be a great indicator as to whether or not they're legitimate enough to have an actual if they cannot have a conversation about whether or not Anthony Weiner's laptop existed, this is a great litmus test. And this will, by the way, cut off generations. It'll cut off the boomer generations, a lot of the Gen X. A lot of Gen X is not willing to go with this. They are deep in on a lot of indoctrination. They are like deep in on the school book learning. They're all in on like this is just, you can't question. Like, listen, a narrative is a narrative. What we know to be true is true. You can't you're starting to sound a little kooky. The moment you start to go any lane that is not a borderline on NBC and not on Fox News, not on like an official whatever, the moment you start to bring out, hey, this is like research studies that have been like, these are like what Israel publishes in their own newspapers or whatever, or hey, this is what the New York City Police Department said about Anthony Weiner's laptop. They don't like the facts. They immediately go, but like he was just, it was allegedly that he was sexting 14-year-olds. That's it. He was just him. It's just like how they do the Jeffrey Epstein thing. They cut off all other conspiracy talks by going, he was just a Bruce Wayne figure who was into having sex with kids. That's it. No. There's no conspiracy. It's a lot of Gen X, a lot of boomers, and even some millennials, admittedly. But most of the younger generation is trying to catch on. They're starting to realize that this is all bullshit. It's all narratives. A lot of these older figures are dying, whatever. What I'm trying to say is do not try to broaden the minds of people who are not willing to go down that line of thought. Whatever. If they're not willing to talk about Anthony Weiner's laptop, they're lost. Think about it this way. They will continue to vote in elections like oh my God, JD Vance is a threat to democracy. Let's elect Gavin Newsom. It's like that's the level of thinking these people are at. That's the level of intelligence that these people are at. Whatever. You get my point. We're going to lose generations over this concept. I'm serious about
You
this.
can characterize it however you want. I just would like to know if she's familiar with any of them. So
You can characterize it however you want. I want to know if she's familiar with them. I love that. That is a great defense.
characterize it however you want. I just would like to know if she's familiar with any of them.
So excuse me, your question is about whether or not she has reviewed.
Oh, she's so uncomfortable. She's looking down at the desk. She's shaking her head. If it is that silly, then why are you having such an exasperated reaction? Knock it off, you performative bitch.
emails in the Epstein release files about Pizzagate.
You smarmy ass. I get where Zora Mamdani learned it.
Pizzagate was totally made up.
Totally made
It was
up.
an outrageous allegation that ended up hurting a number of people, that caused a deranged young man to show up with his assault rifle.
A deranged young man?
Shoot up a local pizzeria.
They seem pretty well back in business, excuse you.
I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be
Oh, she's trying to pull out the you should be ashamed of yourself, but listen, she won't be able to finish herself.
pizzeria. I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be
there are connections
She can't finish it. She just looks off into the distance. That's a sign of a lying bitch.
to the language.
well.
I'm not
The
talking
QAnon
about-
people believe there are. So
I don't know what.
Oh, the QAnon people. I love how it's an easy way to say, oh, QAnon people believe in conspiracies. That means every conspiracy cannot be true. This is like what the dumb idiots actually say. This is like what the fake smart people say. Like the people who are like, they're more focused on pulling in a check every week. They're more focused on like just living their lives, going to get beer at the end of every day, just like finishing up like, oh, let's go to bed. You know what I mean? Let's throw on some Netflix. It's like the people who aren't intellectually mindful to pour over volumes, who aren't interested in the data, who aren't interested in Census Bureau, FBI statistics, people who aren't interested in the actual Epstein files. You're talking about real, this is the majority of Americans, unfortunately. It's people who are just like, I want a warm thing to put in my mouth at the end of the day, and I want to call it a day, and I want to support one candidate, and I want to know that I'm fighting fascism. Both parties might be bad, but I like my guy. This is it. We don't have to talk about the grander system. Let's go have a barbecue Sunday. It's a very low... This is the majority of Americans, and I'm not even saying that it's wrong. It's the way that we've been taught to think as Americans, that there are two sides to things, that there is a gray... That they're like, oh yeah, when you're supporting Gavin Newsom, you're really fighting against something grander. The tech wizards are all going to back him. He's Silicon Valley Prince. What are we talking about? Whether or not you vote for J.D. Vance this upcoming election, and it is probably going to be J.D. Vance. Marco Rubio just doesn't have it. His ears are too big in that AI video. We'll cover it later this episode, but you know what I mean? It's just weird. And also the Secretary of War bit. It's I know that's not him, but he basically is he's the dignitary that represents all of our foreign actions. Is my point? You know what I mean? Is the Secretary of State. So whatever. We're gonna just continue. J.D. Vance, if you vote for him, he is going to be a Silicon Valley plant. Gavin Newsom, if you vote for him, he's going to be a Silicon Valley plant. So, you know what I mean? This is the real talk that people can get into, and if they are interested in going fascism is in one party, it's like, okay, you can't get beyond the Republican-Democrat talk. You're so stuck in the weeds and the Nixon era of politics, you haven't gotten past the era of this is the rhino, there's a rhino Democrat or whatever that's secretly, he's a Democrat but he's running as a Republican or whatever. You're in that era of politics still. Really? You don't think that anything has evolved since then? Okay, alright.
Have at it.
Have at it.
You've accused certain parties, and I think even right now today, of promoting slow walking or information in ways that fuels...
She's breathing really heavy for an innocent lady. For an innocent lady who didn't cut the face off of a little girl, allegedly, in this Pizzagate video, she is just she's breathing really, really heavy. I don't know, she seems stressed out.
Conspiracies. In your view, did any Epstein-Maxwell related investigations or file handling pre or post 2019 contribute to or intersect with the spread of Pizzagate-style theories about Democrat figures?
Objection.
She looks over to her lawyer immediately.
I have no way of answering. That is the most
speculation.
Ridiculously...
Have you or your representatives identified any Epstein file content that has been misinterpreted online to revive those claims?
Yeah.
And what steps, if any?
Why wouldn't you revise the claims with the pizza emails? Come on. $65,000 of pizza is weird. And I'm sorry, adults don't have pizza parties. Adults don't have, but they have parties. I know this. This is true. No one says, let's have a pizza party if you're beyond the age of 8. You have parties that have pizza at them. What are you talking about?
Have you taken to clarify?
Again, object on the ground of...
I think that this is all very reasonable.
Well, first of all, I don't follow the crazy conspiracies.
Dismiss, do not address, just back into the corner of addressing it as a conspiracy.
Stories that are online. I regret that anybody does. I find it quite sad, but also
I find you quite sad.
disturbing
I find you quite sad. Your husband ragged on you, made you you are nothing but a cum rag on America's reputation. You are an embarrassment to your gender. You are an embarrassment to your side, to you blondes. I'm sorry, you're not a natural blonde. I can see your roots. Don't even try to fake it to me. I know natural blondes, and they deserve a better representative than you. Listen, Hillary Clinton, you need someone to give you the facts as it is. You are a loser nobody. You are an embarrassment to your gender. You have been nobody ever since 2016. That was the highlight of your glow sister, glow girl moment. You peaked with Pokemon Go. That's not a good sign. I haven't talked about you, and nobody's genuinely thought about you in 10 years. So let's be honest with you. You are like Rihanna, and let's be honest, you don't have a new album in the works like she does. So what do you really have to offer the community except for actually nothing? Just like the points you made in this testimony where you go, the person you should be talking to is my husband. Yes, because just like history will remember, he was really the one that mattered in this relationship. Ultimately, he was. I'm sorry, I know people love to say Hillary was a she-queen. She was a representative of girl bosses everywhere. She was a representative of weaker women everywhere because she stayed with a man who embarrassed her, and the staying with him got her nothing. I need to make this so incredibly clear. The lie around Hillary Clinton being this boss girl movement for the era or whatever is done. It's over. This bullshit around her being a Hillary will lead the way. That was the Oscars performance in 1993 or 92. I can't remember. And it was embarrassing for the nation then. They didn't realize it because they were like, nope, she's gonna be the first female president. And people will realize the same thing about Kamala, unfortunately. Even if she runs next year, she's not going to win. But what I'm trying to say is that she hasn't embarrassed herself nearly as much because Doug, although he beat his former girlfriend, he hasn't beat her yet. And he hasn't cheated, allegedly. But Bill Clinton really threw this woman through the runner. Like, she is just like through the grinder. Her reputation has been shat on over and over, and that is what she really represented, is an old school woman. Boomer women will be represented by this woman as a generation that, unfortunately, for all of their 1960s feminist claims of we're breaking through, we're wearing pantsuits, we're changing what it means in the workforce, and all of this, like the do-diddy forward movement, we're having big shoulder pads and phones, and we're working in office buildings just like the boys. Ultimately, they went home to men who didn't respect them, cheated on them, saw them as just, big-titted bimbos who weren't big-titted enough, so they went with some 22-year-old. And ultimately, she, in her older years, was a shriveled up, short-haired, let's just call it what it is, hollow baroness of a woman who has nothing more to her name except a failed presidential run because she was not qualified to be Secretary of State. She was not qualified to be senator. I'm sorry. I know people will give me, she went to school. She went to school just like Bill Clinton. Oh, so she was married to the president for 8 years. That means that she's a perfect candidate for senator of New York. That's ridiculous. She's one of the most overhyped, underqualified candidates ever to be represented in our history. She will never hold the legacy that many people thought that she was destined to have. And I'm sorry, this will be her eulogy because I feel as though she's finally served her last purpose after she's literally, this was the last thing we were going to ever ask of her. We're never going to ask her to run for president again. We know better of her. She's old and withered at this point. She's beyond the use of the government. So we know to let her go like the Wicked Witch in the West, and she will ride her broom far off, and I cannot wait for this day. Whatever she has to offer to us now, maybe it'll be a book, a tell-all. Maybe she'll be like, I actually lied about the testimony, and then Bill actually ran and there were 15 Monicas.
That people would believe some of what is put forth, like Pizzagate. So I have taken no steps to review anything that might have any connection to something which I think is totally bogus.
I think it's bogus. As a result, it's not even worth looking into. I'm not going to try to rectify anything. I love Hillary Clinton. Now she's going to explain why Ghilaine Maxwell was attending her daughter Chelsea Clinton's 2010 wedding.
Your husband flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 17 to 26 times, correct?
He made several trips with different legs on the trip, as I recall.
But he flew
With the nicky-picky details. Stop it. Enough. Just yes or no.
on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 17 to 26 times.
Yes, he did.
Were you aware that Secret Service was dropped on some of those flights?
That is not my understanding.
By this standard of behavior, multiple credible accusers, including Juanita Broderick, who alleged rape against your husband was disbarred.
Juanita Broderick, we will actually cover tomorrow. Juanita Broderick, I need to write down a note for myself. She's credible rape accusation against him. Talks about a lip biting technique that also another victim that allegedly was raped by him also shared. These women didn't know each other, so it's just like this weird thing that he does to keep them quiet. I don't know. We'll continue.
In Arkansas, lost his law license before the Supreme Court, flew on Epstein's plane dozens of times, visited Epstein's island.
That is not true. That is absolutely untrue.
Well, there's documentation in the
gay.
DOJ files. I'm not sure you're aware, your attorneys have told you, but Jeffrey Epstein told one of the victims to lie to investigators, to lie that Bill Clinton was ever on Epstein Island. I can provide that document to you.
We would like that document, please.
Okay.
Yeah, counsel, because actually the files say just the opposite. Epstein himself denied he was.
These are FBI notes from an interview with a victim, and I can get you the victim number and the case number and the files.
What was your understanding of what Mr. Epstein did for work?
I knew nothing about him. He was there as an invited guest by the White House Historical Association. That's my best recollection.
And no one else informed you of what Mr. Epstein did for work?
No, but we had hundreds and thousands of people who came to the White House. I was not informed of what people did or didn't do for work, especially someone that I never even had a conversation with.
Do you know who invited Mr. Epstein to the White House?
I can only tell you what I know, which is that he apparently was a guest invited by the White House Historical Association to attend a dinner to thank people who gave money to the White House Historical Association for the upkeep and maintenance of the White House.
Stop
It's been
including
widely
me.
reported, and we, I think, discussed in the previous hour that in July of 2010, Miss Maxwell attended your daughter's wedding in Rhinebeck, New York. Do you have any recollection of Miss Maxwell's attendance at the wedding?
I have no specific recollection. Obviously, there's a picture of her being at the wedding as my husband walks my daughter down the aisle. She was there as
Beautiful.
a guest of Ted Waite, someone we had known for 30 years, I believe.
For 30 years?
Who was a strong supporter of my husband and became a friend. And there were more than 500 people at the wedding. So other than that picture of her...
Then how many other pedophiles did you have? That's my question, ultimately. She's also grilled over the hot tub pic with Epstein. Like, admittedly, why are you asking her about it? I do love the fact that they make her go, what did you imagine when you saw the sexy pics of women massaging your husband? Did it make you upset?
When you saw photos of your husband in a hot tub laying on a beach and getting massaged by other women, and you knew that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in some of these trips and these things, did it concern you at all?
I'm here not to offer my opinions. I'm here to answer specific questions to the best of my ability.
That was a specific question, bitch.
You saw your husband in these photos with a young woman being massaged. What went through your mind?
I am not going to speculate.
You're not going to speculate on your own mind? You don't have to speculate on your own mind, you goon.
Feelings about young women massaging your husband.
I am not going to offer opinions or speculation about anything that I have no context for and was not there.
After you learned that Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of sex crimes with kids, did any of these photos of your husband with women being massaged on the beach, did concern you?
I have no context for even answering that question, and I think...
What do you mean you have no context? That's all the context you need. When you saw these pictures of young women massaging your husband, I think that was pretty clearly worded. Here, let's have her word it again.
Concern you?
Did they concern you?
I have no context for even...
Did they concern you when you'd heard about his conviction?
Answering that question, and I think, obviously, the innuendo, all the rest of it.
What innuendo?
Question. I'm not putting any leading statements into it or adjectives. Did you do anything to determine what was happening in those images or on those trips? Once you saw these photos, once you realized Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender of children, did you do anything to determine what was happening on these trips with?
No, I accepted that my husband is a real wild dog by that point. You have to understand that being in a relationship as long as you are, like the Clintons, it's you accept some stuff about your spouse's behavior. Especially if they're a real wild one, like Bill.
I don't find any of your questions to be relevant to in the
It
investigation.
is relevant if a former president was traveling around with young women.
Well, you'll have a chance to talk to him tomorrow.
You're gay. You can answer questions about your husband. Aren't you his wife, bitch? Aren't you his wife? Shouldn't you know anything?
You said this morning you did not solicit funds from Jeffrey Epstein, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Did anyone solicit funds from Jeffrey Epstein on your behalf?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you ever invite Jeffrey Epstein or Ghilaine Maxwell to any of your
Political gatherings? And she goes, no. Anyways, as the deposition dragged on, questions veered even stranger territory. Clinton was quizzed about UFOs, unidentified flying objects. More on Pizzagate. She later told reporters outside that these off-topic questions felt unproductive, especially after she'd already answered the core questions about Epstein exhaustively. Clinton condemned committee chair James Comer for some relevant lines of inquiry, but overall commended, not condemned, committee chairman, commended, for some relevant lines of inquiry, but overall slammed the session as a partisan theatre rather than a serious investigation. Her husband, former President Bill Clinton, he was set before them and faced some similar questioning, and as a result, it gave us some beautiful clips, most of which we will review tomorrow. So subscribe if you'd like tomorrow's broadcast. Ring the bell if you like the notifications, all that bullshit. But in the meantime, we'll actually end this segment for today about the Clinton's deposition, because we're already a half hour into this. This is crazy. Former President Bill Clinton, let's have a clip, why don't we, from his deposition. Mr. Shaky.
When did you first learn of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes?
I don't think he has Parkinson's. I think he's just old.
I think in 2008 when he was prosecuted.
I don't understand also how they can give off such different ages. Hillary Clinton, admittedly, she appears her age. She is slower than usual, but she's feisty. Still, admittedly, she will go, I'll hit the table, I'll point at you. She'll do all of that stuff. But her husband is giving, maybe 20 years her senior. He's giving someone who needs to be helped around by his arm. You know what I mean? And I've noticed this, that presidents, they tend to age quicker than the first ladies do. I mean, admittedly, John F. Kennedy, he aged way quicker than the Jacqueline Onassis did. But what I'm trying to say is that Bill Clinton's specific image is decrepit. It's very, very, very old.
There's nothing that I saw when I was around him that made me realize he was trafficking women. And I never...
Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein sexually abuse or assault young women or girls?
No.
Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein receive massages from young women or girls?
Not that I recall.
Not that I recall.
Did Mr. Epstein ever discuss sexual acts of any kind with you?
No.
No.
Did you ever have any sexual contact with young women or girls in the presence of Epstein or Maxwell?
No.
Did you ever have sexual contact with any young woman or girl introduced to you by Epstein or Maxwell?
No.
I'll tell you what, guys. Maybe it's just the Arkansas drawl, but I believe him. Every
Mr.
word.
President, with the benefit of hindsight, were there things you witnessed that could have suggested that Epstein was trafficking and sexually abusing young women and girls?
I do not believe so.
I love his lawyer just nodding like, yep, good answer, Bill. Just how we practiced, ladies and gentlemen. This is fun. I enjoy this absolute... You know that part of making, is it pulled pork or like pulled chicken I've had before, but you know when you put a piece of meat in the crock pot and then like your mom, she like tears it apart and she puts, with chicken, it's normally like not a barbecue sauce, but it's like this awesome buffalo sauce, and then there's like cream cheese in it and whatnot. This like tearing apart. The politicians are that lump of chicken. and they are being torn apart for our entertainment. And the barbecue sauce is getting thrown in soon. You know what I mean? And it's getting served up. I know that I'm using very Masonic terms. I'm using stuff that kind of sounds like I'm in an Epstein, email that's like, bring the jerky to the 5th floor. You know, it's very bizarre. I don't know. The lingo is not very coded. But these guys, the public mauling, the, dogs baring their teeth, the... jaws hemorrhaging, the muscle tissue ripping apart, you know what I mean, of the public image of a lot of these figures. Admittedly, Bill Gates has had a rough public image since the 90s, and then he kind of he was like, I'm a savior now. I'm going to save kids with AIDS. I'm not going to save kids with AIDS. Like, I'm not going to give the kids AIDS to save them, but I'm going to save the kids who have AIDS by, like, giving them a vaccine or something that's going to make them sick. I don't know. This is his image in the 2000s. I'm just telling you what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that we spent plenty of time on this for today, so I think we should move on to our second story, which does concern, obviously, the war in Iran. We have to cover it. We have to cover more. Because a U.S. embassy in Saudi Arabia has been struck by an Iranian drone. What are we even talking about, ladies and gentlemen? I will tell you what we're talking about. Let's begin this segment. Begin. Go. U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia struck by Iranian drones. U.S. officials have confirmed more deaths. Oh my goodness. There's a dramatic escalation, if you don't know, in the ongoing conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran. Early Tuesday morning, local time, the U.S. Embassy compound in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, was hit by 2 Iranian drones. This attack is part of Iran's wave of retaliatory strikes across the Gulf region following the U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iranian targets that reportedly killed high-ranking officials, including the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. In the arms of the angel, according to the Saudi Ministry of Defense, the U.S. officials, the drone strike caused limited fire and minor material damage to the embassy building. The facility, I thought it was going to say the faculty, was relatively empty due to overnight timing, and the initial reports indicate no injuries or fatalities at the embassy itself. Isn't that great? The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh has been closed to the public, canceled all consular appointments, and issued urgent shelter-in-place alerts for Americans in Riyadh, Judea, and Dhahran. The State Department has also ordered a non-emergency personnel and families to evacuate the several Gulf countries. They're saying if you have a bus, if you have that scene in War Dogs where you have someone named Marlboro, they can kind of traffic you across the Jordanian border or something like that, get out while you still can, while advising United States citizens across the region to depart immediately amid fears of further attacks. Not to mention the at-home risk, but we don't need to get into all of that. I mean, there's also a broader death toll, if we don't already know about this. U.S. military forces have now confirmed at least 6 American service members have been killed in related Iranian or proxy attacks, including soldiers in logistics units in places like Kuwait. These deaths are adding to mounting casualties as Iran targets U.S. assets and allies hosting American forces across the Middle East. President Trump has described operations against Iran as potentially lasting weeks or longer, as we've covered, with Secretary of State Rubio warning of even more intense phases of strikes ahead. Let's begin.
The breaking news from the Middle East: Iran is ramping up airstrikes around the region in response to U.S. and Israeli attacks. All Americans are being urged to leave the Middle East. The wave of Iranian airstrikes now prompting U.S. embassies in Iraq, Jordan, and Bahrain. This
is not to say that I was ready to go here for vacation anytime soon, but it is unfortunate that we're just maybe losing I wouldn't have gone to Dubai. I don't want to get arrested for public displays of affection, anything like that. Or chewing gum in public. I've heard that you can get arrested for that if you throw it on the ground or something. I don't know. I understand that. That's how they keep their society so clean. I mean, not clean of, crimes, but clean of, litter. What I'm trying to say is that it's unfortunate to lose the United Arab Emirates probably as a destination. I've heard a lot of people. I had teachers that went to Dubai. It's like, why?
To order non-emergency personnel to leave their posts. In the meantime, the Trump administration is shedding new light on the justification for attacking Iran and where this conflict is heading next. ABC's Marcus Moore continues our coverage from Doha, Qatar, one of the countries now being targeted by Iran.
By the way, whenever you hear someone pronouncing Qatar as Qatar, Qatar is the proper pronunciation. It's even more if you. By the way, that's not even how the Arabs or the people of the region pronounce it. It's just the anglicized pronunciation. So if you are going to anglicize it, Walmartifies it even further to pronounce it Qatar, go ahead and retard yourself up. I will go ahead and live in the middle ground world of anglicizing Middle Eastern words as Qatar.
Marcus, good morning.
Well, hey, Hannah, good morning. There have been new intercepts over Doha this morning, and you can hear the massive and loud booms echoing through the city, and we've seen a wave of airstrikes across the region overnight, targeting Americans and American interests. The Trump administration is responding, saying Iran has yet to see the full scale of this U.S. military operation.
Hell yeah, we're gonna have fun.
President Trump vowing to retaliate after the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia was hit by Iranian drones. Officials say the embassy, relatively empty at the time, sustained only minor damage. A fire was also reported at the U.S. Embassy in...
By the way, when it comes to minor damage, we do have to remember, these guys are flying RC planes into these structures. The Iranian military is basically a coalition of brown Dennis the Menaces. They are wearing the towels on the head. They look menacing. Do not get me wrong. They look menacing. They look like they're swinging the big curved swords in Aladdin and they're going to cut your hand off for stealing bread from the market. But they do not be deceived. They are little 10-year-old boys. If you pull on their beards, they will literally come off like, you know how in the Little Rascals movie, they dress up like a rabbi to sneak into the bank. It's like 3 kids stacked on top of each other and Spanky. He's got the beard on and then the guy pulls it and then it just like shows it that it's just a kid's face underneath. If you went up to every one of the Iranian military's officials and pulled on their beards, it would be 3 brown kids standing in a jacket. And they are little Dennis the Menaces and they are flying. It is important to remember, I saw the apartment complex one where they flew one into an apartment complex. I can't remember. I think it was... Let me look at my globe. I can't remember. It might have been Saudi Arabia. It might have been United Arab Emirates. I don't know. But it was, they flew one of these drones into an apartment building. No one was killed. Actually, no, that's incorrect. A lot of people were killed. Anyway, guys, what I'm trying to say is that some people will die. Because admittedly, Dennis the Menace gets dangerous. Admittedly, I don't think Mr. Wilson should have survived some of his pranks. When he replaced his aspirin with rat poison or something, I thought he was going to go, and I thought that was going to be the end of the movie. But whatever. What I'm trying to say is that the Iranian military, while they feel mighty and whatnot, it's going to take an Al-Qaeda level threat to take down another building, is what I'm saying.
It was in that country where the Pentagon says 6 American service members were killed and 18 others were injured during an Iranian attack on a tactical operations center. U.S. officials vowing to ramp up attacks.
The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now.
Chaotic scenes playing out across the Middle East. At least 11 countries are now involved in this expanding conflict.
We're blowing shit up.
Shot down 2 Iranian bombers. The first report of Iran sending warplanes into Qatari airspace. The State Department is now urging all Americans to leave the Middle East, quote, due to serious safety risks. But much of the region's airspace is on lockdown. Flight trackers show just how many flights are avoiding the area.
You're fine?
Video circulating online shows a U.S. pilot shot down over Kuwait being approached by locals.
Thank you for helping us.
3 U.S. fighter jets were shot down by friendly fire. All crew members survived after ejecting. The U.S. has now carried out nearly 2,000 strikes in Iran across at least 50 locations.
Look at us go.
Explosions ripping through Tehran as stealth bombers dropped 2,000-pound bombs on underground facilities.
Because we like to have fun.
Destroyed. Multiple Iranian Navy ships sunk.
Yeah.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard headquarters leveled. The major focus, Iran's missile launchers and those deadly one-way attack drones, which are now wreaking havoc across the Gulf.
There's the apartment building! There it is! I don't know if I think people died in it. There it is! I'll put this in the description.
Havoc across the Gulf.
Boo! Yeah, that was awesome.
Central Command releasing new video showing U.S. strikes on Iranian ballistic missile launchers. But analysts say Iran still has thousands of missiles in its arsenal. President Trump saying, quote, "We haven't even started hitting them hard. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon." The president not ruling out.
Guys, this is a movie. This is a movie, and you have to have fun. You have to have fun, otherwise you have to laugh. Otherwise, you're gonna go crazy. You have to look at the apartment complex, and you gotta go, well, it doesn't look like anybody died. You know what I mean? I didn't hear any screaming. You know, listen, I think that there were no newborns. We're good. That's all I wanted to say.
Ground troops in Iran, adding the U.S. is prepared for a prolonged conflict.
Whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes. Right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
But leaders within the administration say this will not be like previous wars in the Middle East.
This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president.
Our generation knows better.
You're not going to have an endless war. Because
don't ever say your generation knows better. Don't ever. I know that I did literally earlier this episode when I say that my generation knew better on certain details, and they were more willing to go with things like Pizzagate. But listen, and Pizzagate, not in the terms of like, the furthest extent, but they're at least willing to admit that Anthony Weiner's laptop is a thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say that most of Gen Z is into that, because I'm going to be honest with you. Most of Gen Z is still like the blindly, oh, I support Trump because my dad supports him, and I love Andrew Tate and I love Nick Fuentes, and that's why I support Donald Trump. And honestly, even Nick Fuentes is a little bit turning against Donald Trump right now. He's like, fuck the Republicans because they're not giving us anything that we really want. You should vote for Democrats in the midterms. And it's like, okay, weird switch up. That's just bizarre, honestly, to see. But anyways, Kamala Harris then also is like that activated like a lot of people in my age group. So I'm just going to say people who were inspired by the Kamala Harris campaign, the joy, the like, oh, dad, Menard's guy as the vice president. People who were emboldened, like, this was my first campaign that I got aware and I got into it. Like, she was a campaign that energized a lot of people. I'm not saying that I'm any more hopeful for my generation that we're going to be unfooled by tricks and schemes and like plots. Never claim that your generation is above it. You're probably not.
This point that we've been, and Iran, this terror regime in Iran is the weakest point that it's been here since it hijacked Iran from the brave Iranian people 47 years ago. So this is going to be a quick and decisive action.
Another big concern right now is the price of oil. We have seen refineries across the region come under attack, and now Iran is vowing to attack any ship that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Keep in mind, 20% of the world's oil supply passes through that channel, so a prolonged disruption could have a major impact on prices. But now, so far, we have not seen a huge impact on the markets. But Sophie, the longer this drags on, the higher the risk.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of the Strait of Hormuz, actually, we'll just get into the rapid-fire section of today's headlines, because there's a lot of stuff that we need to cover in order to keep your media diet healthy that we can't honestly dedicate a lot of time to for every other little thing. But we're just going to cover the Strait of Hormuz here really quick in order to actually just get into the shit. You know what I mean? There's U.S. Domestic political backlash over the Iranian war powers. Obviously, you know about that. Republicans are defending President Donald Trump's authority to launch strikes against Iran. Democrats have criticized the administration for insufficient justification. They're pushing for congressional war powers vote. Congressional briefings on the conflict's legality and scopes are underway amid the deep partisan disagreement. Let's cover this brief clip here about the Strait of Hormuz, just to give everybody as much in-depth detail. It does have a visual element. If you need it, I will put it in the description and you can watch it.
The war on Iran is jeopardizing the entire Middle East energy industry. Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil exporter, has shut down its Ras Tanura refinery in Saudi Arabia's eastern province following a drone strike from Iran. Qatar, the world's largest exporter of gas, has shut down all of its LNG operations after facilities at Ras Laffan and Masayid were targeted. And a UAE oil platform is reportedly burning in the Gulf after being struck. Iran has made fresh threats against shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, as well as around 20% of the world's oil and gas passing through this narrow waterway. Shipping companies say 10% of the world's containers are now stuck. At least 5 vessels have been attacked in the Gulf by Iran over the past 24 hours.
Well, shoot. Doesn't that suck? Not only that, FBI officials are saying that they're trying to determine whether or not the gunman that we have discussed yesterday, the Austin gunman, who actually is our third story for the today. So we'll cover that later. They're trying to determine whether or not he was an Iranian sleeper cell, whether or not he was radicalized by Iran, whether or not he was trying to get a revenge for the Islamic State. Who knows at this point? Who knows? Might be any of them. Might be any of those cases. We're never going to be able to figure it out. Honestly, it's probably a government plot. We'll never figure it out until 30 years from now. That's just my prediction at this point. You can't know. I'm just being honest. You can't know. Let's continue the rapid fire section of today's headlines. In Reuters and other Ipsos polls, they show that only about 25% of Americans support the U.S. strikes in Iran, many viewing the intervention as too aggressive, and the lack of broader public support backing the issue raises concerns for U.S. political leaders in the ongoing debate about the war's domestic and international ramifications, especially given the 2026 midterms on their way soon. I think this is something that they got to give a little more concern to, because it's really going to determine how it's going to shape up for them here coming up soon. Turkey is also having a diplomatic push to end the war with Iran. Of course they're going to. They've signaled efforts to engage all sides to resume diplomatic negotiations to halt widening the conflict. What is this? Tucson is really sad because it's been officially a month since Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Does anybody really care anymore? Is anybody actually still on this story? I stopped covering it a while ago because admittedly it's uninteresting.
This morning, Tucson marking 1 month since Nancy Guthrie went missing.
Okay, cool.
Still a lot of hope out there. 4 weeks later, investigators still trying to...
Do you think by this point any of her skeleton is left in the vat of acid that they're dissolving her in? And it could be Savannah Guthrie doing the dissolving. I'm not even going to mince my words. She could have killed her own mother. She could have made her own mother disappear. This could be just an excuse so that she didn't have to retire off the Today Show. She could have been like, I left the Today Show. She's going to write a book about it. I left the Today Show when my mother was kidnapped.
Piece together the unbearable mystery. According to FBI crime data, kidnappings involving seniors over the age of 80 are extremely rare, fewer than 1% of all abductions. Investigators continue to work several leads, including the thousands of hours of footage amassed, like that ring camera video obtained by Fox News Digital.
Thousands of hours of footage is what we have. Thousands. And yet they're not able to track him down. That sucks. Marco Rubio issues a stark warning to Americans in the Middle East. Gosh, and people think this video is AI. I think it is too. It's in the description if you want to take a look at it. He looks like a fish. His ears are too long.
Department of State, our number one priority is the safety and the security of American citizens everywhere in the world. Now, with what's going on in the Middle East with Operation Epic Fury and the cowardly attacks that we're seeing from Iran against Gulf countries, I wanted to take this chance to speak directly to Americans who are in the Middle East about the work we are doing to try to keep you safe. So immediately following the beginning of this operation, at my direction, the State Department activated a 24/7 task force, surging personnel and resources necessary to help provide American citizens with up-to-the-minute safety and security information. Now, in order to receive these updates from the nearest U.S. Embassy or consulate, you have to register with the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. You have to register with STEP, and here's where you do it. You go to step.state.gov.
Cool. I'm guessing you don't need to hear that because my guess is you're not listening to this from a Gulf state. Anyways, two people, admittedly not boys, they look younger, were shot and killed by their cousin the day that he was bailed out of jail. Interesting.
I'm out of jail. Police say Monday, 14-year-old Xavier Barnett and 23-year-old Kwame Stewart were shot and killed. The accused gunman, their cousin, Eddie Duncan. Court records show Duncan was released on bail Monday despite a pending psychological evaluation. Freeman says Duncan's family saw the warning signs and still bailed him out. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office says they noted Eddie Duncan was a public safety risk and asked for a high bail, much higher than a typical request. Do you feel like the justice system failed y'all?
Yes, they did.
Failed y'all.
We got two innocent lives that's gone for no reason. I wish I could just get one more phone call and them asking me where I'm at.
One more
Asking me mom. God damn it. This is a tragic story, but I just wish proper English, guys. Proper English. It's not axe, it's ask. I'm sorry. So it's just, it's not ambulance, it's ambulance. Just, actually, hold on. I will stop people if I'm talking to you in public and you mispronounce it, especially like with this really, just very, very incorrect pronunciation. I'll stop you. If you go, "Can I ask you a question?" I'll go, "Can you ask me?" Wait a minute. We use proper English when you're around me, okay? That's what I do. I correct people. I correct people's English because I'm a good person, actually. It's because I'm a good person that I'm actually going to be Rihanna's script reviewer, because if you didn't know, I'm going to be going through all of her scripts and I'm going to be correcting them to proper English because she's back in the studio working on her, this is 9th studio album? Good for her. She's back in the studio. Is it over a decade that she's been working? Yep.
Yeah, she's a
Damn.
9-time Grammy Award winner, and she is confirmed she's back in the studio recording the music for the first time in a decade.
But what a decade it has been since her release of her album Anti back in 2016. She launched and built her Fenty Beauty brand to nearly $3 billion. Appeared in 4 movies.
She did Fenty? I didn't know that. Crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should cover our final headline. Oh yeah, Ukraine also had a push for EU fast-track to membership. It's hit resistance, and I hope that it doesn't go through because they don't belong in NATO. Admittedly, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, its use has been limited since the end of World War II. You can hear about my opinions about that later. But ladies and gentlemen, let's cover our final headline in relation to the Austin mass shooter. Let's go. Who was the Austin mass shooter? Ndiaga Ndiagana. Oh my god, this is sitting on a keyboard and just going, this is my kid's name. All about the deranged gunman. New details are emerging today about the gunman behind the weekend's mass tragic shooting in downtown Austin. Law enforcement have identified the suspect as 53-year-old, not going to even try, a resident of Flungerville. What is this guy's name what are the names in this guy's life? Flungerville, and he was a naturalized U.S. citizen originally from Senegal. Oh, I love this guy's name. I love this guy's names in his life. Dengue was killed by police in the shootout early Sunday morning after he allegedly opened fire in a crowd outside a popular bar on West 6th Street, leaving 3 people dead and more than a dozen others wounded. Sad time. I'm not going to say sad times because that's real. That sounds overly used and TikTok oriented, but it is sad. It's unfortunate times. Investigators are currently looking into a potential nexus to terrorism following the discovery of several symbolic items. At the time of the attack, he was reportedly wearing a shirt that read "Property of Allah." That is not subtle. Are they trying to start the Islamic versus Christendom war this quickly? I mean, this is clearly the setup to World War III. Is Christendom, Islam, and Judaism will begin the final coalition where they will all fight each other to figure out which religion truly does have God's will behind it. Anyways, let's get what information we do know about this guy. Warning: graphic content ahead, apparently, according to the New York Post. Blam, 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 blam.
New disturbing details are emerging about the murderous gunman who shot up a Texas bar in a possible act of terrorism that left 2 victims dead. From the disturbed killer's motive, possibly being linked to vengeance over the U.S. attack on Iran, to revelations about the gunman's criminal past. Here's everything we know so far about Austin mass shooter Ndiaga Ghilaine. At around 2 a.m. on Sunday, March 1st, hours after the United States and Israel's joint attack against Iran, Ndiaga Ghilaine stopped his SUV in front of Buford's Backyard Beer Garden in Austin on 6th Street, a bustling hub of nightlife near UT Austin's campus. Ghilaine began shooting out his front window with a pistol, striking patrons on the front patio, according to Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis. He then parked his car, got out, and began shooting at people walking by on the street with an assault rifle, the chief said. Police confronted Ghilaine within less than a minute of the first gunshot, shooting him dead, cops said.
Good.
The murderous bloodbath left the shooter and 2 victims dead, one of whom has been identified as Texas Tech student Ryder Harrington. The attack also left 14 injured, 3 of whom were reported to be in critical condition.
Goddamn.
The 53-year-old Senegalese national, who could be seen during the rampage wearing a shirt that read "Property of Allah," may have been motivated by the joint attack by Israel and the U.S. on Iran, law enforcement sources have said, as officials investigate the possible act of terrorism.
Obviously, it's still way too early in the process to determine an exact motivation, but there were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism. In terms of specifically what type of terrorism, we're just at this point prepared to say that it was potentially an act of terrorism.
After Ghilaine was shot dead by Austin police officers, a search warrant executed at his home revealed an Iranian flag and pictures of Iranian leaders. Sources with direct knowledge told CBS News. In a gruesome photo obtained by CBS News, the deceased gunman can be seen sprawled out wearing a gray undershirt emblazoned with the letters of Iran in the green, white, and red of the Islamic Republic's flag. A Quran was also found in his car, the Post previously revealed. Ghilaine, a former New York City resident, arrived in the U.S. on March 13, 2000, on a tourist visa during the Clinton administration.
He was just a good man looking for the American dream.
And became a lawful permanent resident when he married a U.S. citizen in June 2006.
Aww.
He then became a naturalized U.S. citizen on April 5, 2013, around the start of former President Barack Obama's second term, despite several arrests. Ghilaine was arrested in 2001 for illegal vending. He also went on to lodge a string of 3 other arrests in the Big Apple between 2008 and 2016, which are sealed, sources said. Ghilaine was also arrested in Texas at some point on undisclosed charges, according to sources. He applied for asylum in 2016, though the stated purpose and outcome of that application were not immediately clear. He was known to authorities as an emotionally disturbed person in both New York and Texas before Sunday's bloody rampage, sources said.
His criminal record also includes a 2022 arrest in Texas for a misdemeanor hit and run, as well as a 2017 lawsuit in New York where he's accused of intentionally striking a pedestrian with a vehicle. Gosh, he was a real Renee Good about it. I love it. As the Austin community is mourning the loss of several victims, the focus has shifted on how the suspect obtained his weapons. Despite his prior encounters with the law, officials confirmed that he had legally purchased both the pistol and the rifle used in the attack back in 2017 in San Antonio. Interesting. Local leaders are now calling for unity as the investigation continues. Let's finish this out because honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I've consumed enough of your time. I appreciate, you getting your news from here as, do your own research is what I always encourage, but we like to have fun. We love to have fun. We love to joke around here, and we love to, we don't love to make fun, especially when there's not anything fun to say about this guy except for his name, quite frankly, Dinenge. I won't be able to say it without it sounding like I'm about to pronounce a slur. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you had a wonderful time today. I had a wonderful time finding these stories for you. I'm going to find the proper way to pronounce his name that is official because I do not trust this guy the way that he's been reading it. Ndenge? I don't think that it was... No. I'm going to see if maybe his brother or something pronounced it, if he has a brother. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening to today's episode. I had a wonderful time putting these stories together. I hope you had a wonderful time listening to them. In the meantime, this has been Ollie Vogt Larson with Your Brain on Air. Subscribe if you want more, like if you liked it, ring the bell for notifications. In the meantime, I hope that you enjoyed. I'll see you in tomorrow's broadcast, and bye-bye.